Hi, welcome back to the next installment from Z-fari, the zombie novel. Today we're going to read the first part of chapter 16. So hold on to your horses. Here we go. The helicopter sped the survivors of the hunt directly to Pops Donaldson's estate. The sunrise should have been a meaningful beacon of hope and a symbol of another chance to do better, of future possibilities, of new beginnings, of life continuing in spite of trouble, of forgiveness, of spiritual food for the soul. Ike and Bebe shared the nerve-wracking understanding that the light at the end of this tunnel could very well be the old 97 barreling toward them while they stood in the stillhouse trestle. While the chopper landed, Junior was met by a cluster of well-dressed professionals, one obviously a physician and the others secretaries, butlers, and a chef who carried a plate of bite-sized breakfast foods, frittatas, muffins, tiki buns. As he was led off to a soothing bath and a fresh wardrobe, Junior popped a tiny onion tart into his mouth, waved at Ike and Bebe, and yelled as he chewed, "See you later, fellas!" Crumbs and bits of half-chewed onions sprang from his mouth. The two remaining goons walked tiredly to the barracks for a change of silk suit and whatever goons did after a job that had gone so very far south. Ike and Bebe were about to find someone to call them a cab and take them to their homes when a very tall, very well-dressed man with a very commanding British accented voice suddenly appeared in front of them and said, "Please follow me, gentlemen." Ike and Bebe looked at each other and followed the tall man. The tall man led them up to the great house, through the two massive oaken doors into a grand foyer, up a wide spiraling marble staircase which continued up to a third and a fourth floor when they stopped at a landing on the second floor. He led them down a long, wide hallway, its walls lined with portraits, all of which could have been of Junior wearing different clothes and hairstyles. About 50 feet before the end of the hall, the tall man stopped and opened a door that extended all the way up to a foot below what must have been a 12-foot ceiling. "Gentlemen," he said, obviously offering them entry. As they walked through the door, the tall man closed it after them. The room Ike and Bebe entered must have been 50 feet long and 20 feet wide, with a 20-foot tall elliptical domed ceiling. A massive mahogany desk sat under the focal point of the ellipse at the far end of the room. A tall, wide man with Junior's nose and chin stood in front of the desk and bellowed, "What the hell happened out there?" Bebe began to answer, "Well, Mr. Donaldson," when the man cut him off. "Come over here and stand in front of me while I decide how I will destroy what is left of your miserable, pathetic lives." Bebe and Ike walked meekly over and stood very, very still. "I checked out the hunt before I ever told Rick and Junior they could do it. I sent a team of my mercs to evaluate the post office in that little shithole of an ex-town. You had enough weapons and ammo to take over a Central American nation. How the fuck did it go wrong? And where is my boy? Where's Rick?" Donaldson turned progressively redder in the face for every sentence he spat out at Bebe and Ike. "Well," Donaldson thundered. Bebe spoke first. "There were a lot more zombies than we expected, and Rick tripped and fell off the roof. We couldn't reach him. Your two goons—" Bebe immediately realized that he had made a mistake when Donaldson sent him a glare with so many daggers in it that Bebe's unborn grandchildren could feel their points. "I mean your two employees. One was taken when the zombies burst into the building Saturday night, and we lost the other getting to the helicopter. My employees are expendable. My children are not." Donaldson calmed a little as he explained. "I want my son back here, back home, and you two are going to find him. You're working for me now, boys." Ike jumped in then. "Mr. Donaldson, sir, we work for the Border Patrol. I've got to go to work at midnight tonight, and Bebe has the shift after me. We could go back to Peck and look for Rick next weekend. That's our next time off. But I don't know how we can find him now. He's a zombie, probably, or he's dead." Ike realized that he had said exactly the thing that Donaldson did not want to hear. In a soft, calm, terrible voice, Mr. Donaldson explained it to Ike and Bebe as if they were two especially slow-witted children. "As of the moment that my son fell from that roof, you work for me, both of you. Go work your shifts tonight and then stop by the patrol station and resign. Tell them that you found a better job. On Wednesday morning, as soon as the sun rises, you two will lead a squad of my goons on a search and rescue mission. You will search Z-land until you rescue my son." "But we can't just quit," Bebe said, trying his best not to whine. "Of Of course you can, Donaldson told both of them. In fact, you did the second you lost my son. Bebe turned to look at Ike and saw the same overwhelmed expression on his face that was flooding through Bebe. And after you two tender your resignations, you will report directly to me, here. Hayes, tell your wife that you've got to start your new job right away and that you'll tell her all about it when you get home from work. Duvalier, call your mama, but both of you be here tomorrow. Ike was still flabbergasted, but found a tiny bit of spine. Or else what? Donaldson's tone did not change. His volume lowered almost imperceptibly. If you both have not reported to me by sundown on Monday, the Border Patrol will be notified that you two took a group of hunters into Z-land, using and losing patrol equipment, and that Patrol Lab Assistant Allison Hayes helped plan the safari. The Wichita Police Department, the Kansas State Attorney General, and the Department of Homeland Security will be notified of the death of Carl Smith at the hands of Trooper Ike Hayes and his accomplice, Bebe Duvalier. Oh, and I will use every tool at my command and hunt you both down, return you to my home, and spend a long time reminding you why you should not have disobeyed me. No one will ever find the tiny pieces that will be left of you. Donaldson let his promise sink in for a minute. Any more questions, boys? No. Then I'll have my driver take you both home. Ike dragged into work at midnight. He thanked all the gods he could think of for the Adderall he had bought from Allison's nephew last Christmas. He made it through his shift with no zombies to shoot. He began to load his gear into his car about 6 a.m., looking through every nook and cranny on the platform to make sure that he had left nothing of his behind. Bebe arrived promptly at 8 for his shift. Ike asked if there was anything from the platform that Bebe wanted to take with him. Bebe looked around and found nothing. Ike told Bebe that he was off to see Earhart and that he would come back at 4 to give Bebe a lift to the patrol station and then to Donaldson's. It took Ike about a half an hour to drive to the patrol station. He parked in the employee lot, entered the big, old, ugly building, and headed straight for Earhart's office. She had a new assistant since the last time he had been there, Ike thought. And then he remembered that a Corporal Reed had accompanied her on the inspections. He had missed that pleasure, so he introduced himself to Britt Reed and explained why he was there. Trooper Reed nodded, made a few notes on a pad, and picked up the phone. A second later, he spoke quietly into the receiver. 10 seconds after that, the door opened into Sergeant Earhart's office, and she asked him to come in. "Sit down, Trooper," she said. When he had, she continued, "Tell me all about it." I could practice this story, embellish the truth a little, and omitting a great deal. He had been hired as a security consultant, he told her, by the Donaldson Organization. She looked up. "The Donaldson Organization?" "Yes, ma'am," he said. "It just came up, and I've got to start right away." "Well," she admitted, "the patrol surely can compete with the salary they can pay you." Ike smiled and said, "No, ma'am." She made some more notes. Looked up and said, "Well, you've been an excellent zombie hunter, Mr. Hayes. Thank you for your service. If you ever decide to come back to us, I'm sure that there will be a place for you in the patrol." She stood, and they shook hands. Ike left her office and walked out of the building into a new reality.